It's Matt Slick Live. Matt is the founder and president of the Christian Apologetics Research Ministry, found online at CARM.org. When you have questions about Bible doctrines, turn to Matt Slick Live for answers. Taking your calls and responding to your questions at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
Everybody, welcome to the show. It's me, Matt Slick. You're listening to Matt Slick Live. All right, today is the 17th of November, 2022. That's for the podcasters, for the newbies. If you want to give me a call, you don't have the number memorized. Well, the number would be then 877-207-2276. And as I always say, hey, I want to hear from you. Just want to let you know that we stay on the air by your support. Please consider supporting us. So we ask $5 a month. And if you can do that, that would be great. It's not very much. You can go to carm.org/donate. And there's the options right there. We don't use PayPal in that. And so I know a lot of people have trouble with PayPal, and I know why. And I agree, because they stated that if you give incorrect information, disinformation, whatever that is defined as, then they can confiscate up to $2,500 out of your bank account. And this is the Gestapo tactics, as far as I'm concerned. And we don't like what you say, so therefore we're going to fine you. It's supposed to be free speech, but no, disinformation, that becomes a new oppressive regime technique of the people of the Brave New World. And if you haven't read Brave New World, of 1984, you got to read 1984 or A Big Brother. You just look, folks, I'm telling you, if you have not read it, read it. And if you can find an abridged version, a shortened version, that's fine. Don't get to read the whole thing, but you need to go through it. And Animal Farm also. All right. Now, how about this? 3 open lines. I hope the phones are all working fine right now. I know I have at least 4 lines working. If you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276, and we'll go in the air with you. Let's try this first with Alex from Orlando. Alex, welcome. You're on the air.
Hey, brother. I'm pretty sick right now, but I'm not taking your vitamin C drink.
I've got this new idea for you, and I think it'd be good. What you do is you take a whole bunch of, just like a tablespoon of baking soda, and then drink carbonated water, because a lot of stuff will come out of you.
Yeah, and then when I go to the doctor tomorrow, I'll tell him, I listen to this guy named Slick on the radio, and he's giving me better advice than your doctor.
See, that's what you do. And then, but the problem with that is he might institutionalize you right away with those kind of comments. So it might backfire on you. It's true. What? Okay.
Hey,
get the guys.
Yeah. So before I get to my question, you still there's some feedback with the phones. Are you hearing that?
Yeah, just now a little bit. And I know that the guys are hearing that also. So if they want to type something out in the stack about that, they can. They had a phone problem, and they're still working on solving the phone problem. So it's going to take a bit.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just bear through it. But before I ask the question, I could really use some prayer. Like I came back from India. I've been sick for like 2 weeks, and then I also got in a car accident this week.
Whose fault?
It's been a pretty rough couple weeks.
Whose fault was the car accident?
It was my fault.
Okay. Because you were sick?
I've been fatigued and tired, and I went to go work, and I just shouldn't have worked, and I've been really out of it. I'm on some pretty strong antibiotics too, so it was a bad decision, but you know what happened.
Bad decision what? To go do the Lord's work in India?
No, that wasn't a bad decision. Just driving when I got back, instead of taking it easy. That was a bad decision.
Well, from what I know of you, anytime you be driving is a bad decision. Well, you listened.
I feel terrible, but at least you're making me laugh. So
at least I'm making you laugh. Well, the thing is, you took my medical advice, which is a first clue that you don't have it together. So,
Yeah, that's true.
That is so
but,
true.
But yeah, if your listeners could pray for me during this time, I'd appreciate that.
All right. Well, you can email us at prayer@carm.org, and Joanne, she's listening in, and she's great. She's one of those ladies who has a ministry of prayer and is really good. So not like me, you know.
Yeah, I've used it before. I'll send her another update of what's going on. But before I ask the question, I just wanted to, can I share a story about India? I think it'll encourage the believers who are listening.
Okay.
So when I was in India, I went to go preach in a pretty hostile area. I had to be pretty careful where I was at. But I met a guy who actually set up the preaching I was doing and set up this little mini day conference. I met a pastor there. His name was Timothy. That's not his real name, but his name was Timothy. And he is a faithful pastor in an area where he has no electricity. He has to use a generator because the government won't put a transformer in his area for power because he's a Christian and because he has a church.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, it's encouraging to see him still remain faithful and to risk, bringing me in there and, to fellowship with him, but still remain faithful throughout the persecution, and the hostility. He was ran out of one village. He's in another village, built his home. But just to see someone like that and to know that, he's remaining faithful throughout all that, it was encouraging for me to see because we just don't deal with that here. It's not here yet,
Yeah, not yet, but it's coming. I heard some news today about someone who, something about trans something, and was just giving a different opinion and has gotten death threats. So, yeah, the intolerance of the left is horrible, and they're coming here. It's coming here. But yeah, I've heard lots of stories of people like that. I heard a story of a Chinese pastor. If I remember correctly, it was either Chinese or North Korea. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Chinese. And how do I say this politely? The officials said to him that you drink this human sewage, a bowl of human sewage, or we'll kill your congregation. And he drank it.
Yeah. Believers overseas, they're going through it. That was just one of many things that happened in India. It was a fruitful trip. It was challenging, but just encouraged to see them throughout the persecution, that they're enduring, and just how good we have it here. We just need to be praying for those brothers, just like your guy in Nigeria. We just need to be praying and lifting them up in prayer because they're dealing with the government and spiritual forces and opposition. I mean, it's so heavy there, the spiritual climate. Like when you get off the plane and it's just idols everywhere and just, total godlessness everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to share that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
But yeah. So once I feel better, the sickness goes away. I encountered a Jehovah's Witness the other day, and he's willing to have a Bible study with me.
Okay.
And I found out that they don't take gospel tracts, which was something that was interesting. They won't take them at all. But he got my name and number down, and he's reached out to me. So I'm going to talk with him. What's your advice on the first meeting?
Let him talk.
I talk with him.
Let him talk.
Okay.
Don't challenge everything he says, and gather information. Receive the literature. And what I would do is say, yeah, I'd be glad to talk. Okay, let me ask, is it in person or over or not in person?
No. They're out door to door again, and they're out.
No, in person or not? Your study. Your study will be in person.
Yeah, in person.
Okay.
In person.
So that means you're going to come to your house and you're going to come with another person. All right. That means you have two people.
Well, no. I'm going to go meet him for at a Panera Bread or something.
At a what?
At a Panera, at a restaurant.
A restaurant.
At a restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's fine. What I would do is see if you can get this in your head. The goal is to meet with him as many times as possible. If you close the
Okay.
door, you're a cultist. A guy named Slick on the radio says this, but it's gone. It's over. And if you say,
Yeah.
I'm interested in the literature, I would like to read it and stuff, and I would even say that you'd be interested in going to his church. I'm dead serious.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
not that I want you to spread your sickness to all these guys, but go to the church.
Well, I'm gonna wait till I'm better.
Okay, that's good. I
Yeah.
hope you mean physically, because not mentally, because that'd be another issue. Take a lot longer. So you
love the
what?
jokes, man. You just
What?
a joker.
What jokes? This is obviously true. I mean, come on. It's it's pretty obvious.
This is the most I've lasted a couple weeks, so I'll receive them.
Okay. You know what? My side note, my friends tell me I'm the only person they know who can insult them and they enjoy it. They said, you're the only one who can do this. I say,
that's true.
it's a gift. So like sometimes my, a friend of mine will call me up. I see it's him on the phone. I'll go, what? The first thing I say, and then they start laughing. Okay. So you want to meet with this guy. Don't counter everything he says, but receive the information, because he's going to be very encouraged and he's going to want to get a convert. What you're going to do is read the literature and say you'll study, and you get some notes together. You may or may not on the next meeting want to say what you've learned, because as soon as you start showing that you're not interested in what they have and that it's a cult, they're going to stop. That's what they're trained to do.
Okay.
This is why I say, if you can even go to their kingdom hall, go to the kingdom hall. Don't go in to start any trouble. Go in to learn. I haven't been in one in probably 20 years, but I've been in many, and I've been escorted out of a couple of them politely. When I've asked questions, and then they find out that I know stuff and they don't want me in there. Oh, we need to ask you to leave right now. Okay, well, thank you very much. That kind of a thing. So you go to a kingdom hall. One of the ones that I went to stunned me. And what happened was the congregation sitting there, and they have a pulpit area and blah, 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 watchtower this, watchtower that. And then now it's time for the sermon or the presentation of the word. And a guy got up with his New World Translation. And if they can give you one, take it. Anyway, and they went up with a watchtower. And I'm not kidding. This is what I saw. They opened the Bible, opened the watchtower, and said, now open your watchtower to page blah, blah, blah. Everybody did that. And then they read from the watchtower, and then the watchtower would tell them what to look at in the Bible. They would look in the Bible, and they would then conclude whatever the watchtower told them to read in the Bible. And it was done well, in that a statement like this wasn't the one that I saw, but it's like this. In John 14:28, Jesus says, the Father is greater than I. All right, so the watchtower literature will present something like this. We know that the Trinity is of pagan origin, blah, blah, blah. And we know that Jesus is not God because he says the Father is greater than him. And if he was equal to God, the Father wouldn't be greater than him. Let's go to John 14:28. Now, everybody, turn in your Bibles to John 14:28. The Father is greater than I. And then go back to the watchtower. You see? So therefore, we know that Jesus is not God. It makes sense on a low level of understanding if you're guided and you don't do any cross-examination. That's what you're up against.
Okay, and then and then two follow-up questions. One, I should only use the King James. Is that right?
No, they'll want to use their New World Translation, and for the most part, it's good. It's not a translation though. It's a paraphrase where they take stuff that they don't like and they alter it. Now hold on, we got a break, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we go to callers. Okay. Hey folks, I love talking about this stuff. If you want, hold on. After the break, we'll be right back talking with Alex from Orlando, Florida. We'll be right back.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. I overdosed on heroin and I lived. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. My desire to change had finally outweighed my desire to stay the same. I felt powerless for so much of my life. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. For the first time, I finally feel like I'm exactly where I should be, where I want to be.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The life of every child is precious beyond measure. If you care for a child with a disability and have limited income and resources, help is available. Children with a physical or mental disability or who are blind may qualify for monthly cash payments through the Supplemental Security Income Program, or SSI. The program provides help to meet basic needs for food, clothing, or a place to live, and disability-related needs. It's money that can make a meaningful difference. If you're the parent or caregiver of a child or teenager you think may be eligible, call Social Security at 1-800-772-1213 or visit ssa.gov/SSI-Kids to learn how to apply today. That's ssa.gov/SSI-Kids. It's real help for the children. Message produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Two words that change everything, and two words that the Reformers and the Puritans said sum up the entire Christian life: grace and gratitude.
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, First Words of Jesus.
Take a moment this time of year and really every day of the year and think about these two words. First of all, what is grace? Grace is that gift of God that comes down upon unbelieving sinners like me and like you. It can't be earned. We're not entitled to it. We don't deserve it. It's the amazing gift of God that we see in Jesus Christ. Gratitude is that spirit, that attitude in those words that result from grace. Because of what God has done in us, gratitude flows out of us. Grace and gratitude. Two words, the Puritans, they hung their hat on those words, and you and I should too. Every day of the year, and especially for Thanksgiving.
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, First Words of Jesus. Available now in bookstores or go online to First. It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
Everyone, welcome back to the show. We have two open lines. If you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276. I just want to remind you, I need to do this, is that we stay on the air by your support. Please consider supporting us. Just $5 a month. That's all you got to do. CARM.org/donate. And also, we have 3 online schools that you can sign up for. There's a lot of something there. That's another way to support us. Just sign up for the schools. Really does help us a great deal. And that way you actually get some real good, highfalutin study stuff. And you can check that out too. I think all you got to do is go to learn.carm.org. Let me check. It's been a while. Learn.carm.org, and that's where you can go. You can check stuff out there. Yep, right there. All right, let's get back on here with Alex. You still there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, so I was going to say, you got more to talk about, but I was going to say this. See if you can prolong the discussions, because more people will get involved. You'll be able to ask a lot of questions, and it'll happen that at some time you'll start seeing the things you want to talk about to get points made. And you got to expect that once this begins, they'll probably end up quitting pretty quickly because they're brainwashed. But one of the things you want to do.
Yeah, he's third generation Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, it's bad. So what you want to do is they're going to want to talk about why Jesus is not God. They're going to want to talk about all this kind of stuff. They're very well prepared. Unless you know stuff like I do or others who are trained in this area, you might not be able to hold your own with them and be able to do stuff. But the thing that they're not that equipped to deal with is, how are their sins forgiven? And you can ask them.
Okay.
And you can say, they can talk about the Trinity. Just go, oh, I hear what you're saying. I'll have to research that. The deity of Christ. Oh, I hear what you're saying. I'll research that. Take notes. Okay. You're not agreeing or disagreeing. You'll just, and then research, and then save it for later and say, I've been thinking, and I want my sins forgiven. Can you tell me how that works in your organization? And then when they give it, say, are you doing it? That's what it comes down to. And you don't want to pin them, but you want to ask them that to get them to think. Because what you want to do ultimately is, when you get a chance, is to say, well, from what I understand, what the Bible says, all my sins are forgiven already in Jesus. And Jesus says, ask me anything in my name, and I'll do it. And I can show you stuff where he's prayed to in the Bible. I can give you something really powerful that they can't answer out of their New World Translation.
Yeah.
But
I heard you. What was the one verse you used? Hebrews 1:8. Is
Yeah.
that the one I'm thinking of?
Hebrews 1:8, it says in the Hebrew, or in the Greek, it says, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. Thy throne and O God are what's called a vocative, and or the nominative and a vocative in Greek. The nominative and the vocative in Greek both have the Omicron sigma ending, which means that you can switch each one to, so it could be thy throne, O God, or God is your throne. And in their translation, it's not a translation, but their NWT, they'll say God is your throne. The problem is, that's a quote from Psalm 45, verse 6, where it says, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. And that's how the Hebrew has to work. But they even alter that. So there are different ways to deal with the issue. And 1 Corinthians 1:2, when they say, call upon the name of the Lord, is a phrase. You can go to CARM and look that up. And if you get that down, I'll tell you, it's very powerful. But here's the thing. Jesus is the one who has all authority in heaven and earth. And they'll agree, because the Bible says that. And he has the ability to forgive sins, right? Yes. And I'll ask him, well, shouldn't I go to Jesus then, who has all the authority? You see what you're doing? You're asking a question while you're teaching. And without,
I see. Okay.
yeah, you have to be slick. So you ask a question while you're teaching. Well, doesn't it say, Jesus say this? And doesn't it say this? Yeah. And he says, come to me. So shouldn't we do that and ask him to forgive us of all of our sins? And then you just have a discussion. And then you can offer something like, and see how it goes. You say, well, if you were to ask Jesus to forgive you of all of, they won't want to do that. Okay. But I say, but I can do that because the Bible seems to say so. So if that's the case, would all my sins be forgiven? And you ask him that. Now what they're doing is becoming very uncomfortable. And you're going to see he'll want to change the topic to something he's familiar with, not this. And just listen and then go back to it. Say, I really appreciate that. That's good. Make more notes. Literally have notes. That he sees you taking notes with a pad, a pencil, whatever it is. You're engaged with him. And then you write down salvation and you write down stuff. You say, I need to research this. And the longer you can do this, the more time you'll spend with them, the more seeds you can plant. That's what you want to do. And then tell them you want to go to his kingdom hall.
And then what do you think? Sure, yeah, I'm going to do that. What do you think will happen if I bring my own Bible?
Nothing wrong with that. And just you can compare. Because you can say, yeah, this is his Bible I have. And, they'll say, well, here's what we have. And you say, wow, I'd like to get one of those. Where'd I get one of those? Oh, I'll get you one. Okay, great. Or if he says, well, it costs $5 to get one, I'd say, yeah, okay, fine. Here's $5. Okay, or whatever it is.
It's like I'm an undercover agent here.
There you go. You can't be deceptive. You do not be deceptive. But you can ask questions because the goal is to witness to them. I know how they're brainwashed. This is why you have to go to a kingdom hall to see how they're brainwashed. If you go to a kingdom hall and you call me up later and say, yeah, I did what you said. I went. Now I understand a lot more what I'm up against. I go, there you go. Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, bro. Thanks for the answers. Yeah, and the counsel.
All right, man. Now, about your sickness, if you take some vitamin C and you take some WD-40 and you mix it together, then you can use it to scrape paint, but don't drink it. All right, buddy?
You sold me. I'm going to cancel my doctor's appointment tomorrow. Thanks.
Okay, man. Sounds good, buddy. Let us know how it goes.
All right.
All right, Alex. God bless.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah, I got.
Oh, sorry about that. All right, let's get to Dorothy from Norfolk, Virginia. That's what it is. Welcome. You're on the air.
Hi, Matt. Yes, this is Dorothy from Norfolk, Virginia. I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
This came up. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's called Ecod. Are you familiar with that? ECHAD?
No, I heard a beep when you talked, so I didn't hear what you said. The what?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Maybe I'll ask this question first. The Ancient of Days, is that talking about Jesus?
That's what
Is that Jesus?
it certainly seems to be the case. The Ancient of Days out of Daniel. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. So someone thought it was the Father.
No. The Father
Okay.
dwells in unapproachable light, who no man has seen nor can see. 1 Timothy 6:16. If you read the context, is what it's about. And Jesus says that no man's ever seen the Father except the one, talking about himself, the one who is from God. He has seen the Father. That's John 6:46. So the Father cannot be seen. Now, some will say in Acts 7:55 through 60 that Stephen saw the Father, but he did not. He said he saw the glory of God and Jesus standing at the right hand. Didn't see, he saw God. It's really it's important. And the reason it's important is because I want the Mormons who are listening to me in Salt Lake City to understand that Joseph Smith could never have seen the Father. Therefore, the first vision is completely false. And there's the music. Can you hold on through the break and we'll get right back, okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right, what a sweet voice. 3 open lines, 877-207-2276. We'll be right back.
I've been driving trucks for a long time. Safety is my number one priority. I know that my truck has huge blind spots. That's why I remember to check my mirrors often for smaller vehicles. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're behind the wheel, try to avoid lingering in those blind spots. It can be dangerous. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
St. Joseph's Indian School is much more than a school for Native American children.
It's like a family. Classes are fun here.
I do want to go.
Okay, good. Okay. I am learning about my culture. I feel safe and loved here. St. Joe's is more than a school for me.
Since 1927, St. Joseph's Indian School has been a safe haven for Native American children to receive the cultural heritage, education, health care, and caring support they need to succeed in life.
As a father, I feel very good about leaving my kids here. They have way more opportunities here.
Learn more at stjo.org today.
Everybody has a smile story, those daily moments of joy that make you smile, especially when you're a child like 3-year-old Zena. Her smile is as bright as her future, but there's something you wouldn't know about Zena. She was born with a cleft lip, which can make it hard to eat, talk, hear, and even breathe. And she's far from alone. A baby is born with a cleft every 3 minutes. This hurdle could have kept Zena from living her full smile story. Thankfully, she met Smile Train. Since 1999, Smile Train has helped millions of children like Zena find their forever smiles by empowering medical professionals around the world to provide cleft care in their own communities at no cost to families. Smile Train is working tirelessly to give every child with a cleft the opportunity to live their full smile story. Learn how you can help more kids like Zena at smiletrain.org/learn.
St. Joseph's Indian School is much more than a school for Native American children.
It's like a family. Classes are fun here. I am learning about my culture.
Since 1927, St. Joseph's Indian School has provided children the education, health care, and support they need to succeed. To help give our kids brighter futures, learn more at ST.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. 3 open lines, 877-207-2276. Let's get back on the air with Dorothy from Norfolk, Virginia. Welcome. Okay, where were we?
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was explaining to me that it's Jesus is the Ancient of Days. I have another question. every time I tell the people who don't believe in the Trinity that Jesus is able to forgive sins, and they always come back saying because he has been given authority, as if that doesn't. I can't seem to answer that correctly.
Two ways.
Can you?
Sure, two ways.
Okay.
One, you have to understand these two verses related to this kind of thing. Galatians 4:4 and Hebrews 2:9. Galatians 4:4 says he was made under the law. That's important. And Hebrews 2:9, for a little while lower than the angels. So he was in a place under the law, and therefore as a man he was given that authority under the law. That's the answer to that. The other one is, okay, so then you admit that Jesus has the authority to forgive sins? Yes. Then shouldn't you go to him and ask him to forgive you your sins? Simple.
Yes.
And then what they're going to do is say, well, no. Well, wait a minute. And you can work with them. Say, so all authority has been given to him in heaven and earth to forgive sins. Doesn't that mean he has to know the intentions of their hearts also? To be able to do that? Because there's sin in the heart, and what's the intention and circumstances. So wouldn't you have to know all that about them as well? Yes. And also, wouldn't that mean you have to be able to know their hearts of everybody who's ever lived? Yeah. Well, how can he do that if he's just a man? You see?
Wow.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome so much. Okay.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
God bless, Dorothy. All right.
Bye.
All right. Hey, everybody, we have 4 open lines, 877-207-2276. Don't make me come out there. You call, give me a call. Let's talk to Scott from Utah. Scott, welcome. You're on the air. I wonder if his last name is Tape. Hey, Scott, are you there? I'm hitting the button. You're on. I'm waiting. I'm stalling. I'm talking. Don't hear anything. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is put him on hold, and then maybe what can happen is that it's not us. Okay. Oh, it wasn't. That was earlier stuff. All right. I'm going to put him on hold. In fact, what I'll do is I'll drop him, and then he can call back. Scott, don't know if the line's good or not. We have nobody waiting right now. Wide open lines. Why don't you give me a call? 877-207-2276. About the last call. So let me tell you that there are these two verses, actually 3, but the 2 main ones are regarding the issue of Jesus and the statements of being given authority and things like this. The Father is greater than I. There are 2 main verses that you need to understand. Galatians 4:4 is one of them. But when the fullness of time came, God sent forth his Son, born of a woman, born under the law. So under that law means he's obligated to fulfill the requirements of the law. Well, the law tells us that you have to worship God. So he worships the Father. He prays to the Father because that's the requirement of the law. And furthermore, Jesus was made a little while lower than the angels. That's Hebrews 2:9. For a little while lower than the angels in position. So Hebrews 2:9 and Galatians 4:4 are talking about the position of Christ under the law as he was made to someone who had to walk and talk. Now, the other area you want to kind of notice is Philippians 2:5-8. And I'm going to read it. And so I'd recommend that if you were to know just these pericope, you don't have to memorize them. I've done this so many times, I've got to memorize. But the thing is, just the addresses. You can go to Philippians 2:5-8. That's one. Galatians 4:4, Hebrews 2:9. If you have just those addresses memorized, and you're talking to somebody, and you just know it's one of those 3, all 3 will help you. But you can go through. And you can then answer like 95% of the questions that people are going to raise to you about Jesus. Philippians 2, 5 through 8 says this: have this attitude in yourselves, which also was in Christ Jesus, who, although he existed in the form of God, did not regard equality with God a thing to be grasped. Now, the word grasp there can also be rendered as utilized or asserted or taken or robbed. See, but he emptied himself, taking the form of a bondservant, being made in the likeness of men, being found in appearance of man, of a man, excuse me. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. So what we see here in Philippians 2, 5 through 8 is Jesus emptying himself. Sometimes people will say to me, what does it mean that he emptied himself? And I'll say, I don't know. I don't know what it means to empty himself. It cannot be that he emptied himself of divinity, because that's not possible. He is divine. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us, John 1, verse 14. John 1, 14. And so we know that he has two natures. This is called the hypostatic union, that in the two natures of Christ, he's both divine and human. He's God and man. And the attributes of both natures are ascribed to the single person. That's called the communicatio idiomatum, the communication of the properties. So Jesus has the property of being thirsty and the property of being everywhere. See, here's another thing about all of this. If you understand, the cults will say, well, he's not God because he's a son of God. Well, the term son of God implied equality with God in the context of John 5:18. Now, this is an interesting verse. For this reason, therefore, the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because he not only was breaking the Sabbath, but he was calling God his own Father, making himself equal to God. Now, Jesus was not breaking the real Sabbath. He's breaking the Sabbath ideas that they had, because they understood what he was doing and how he did things on the Sabbath. And it says, but he's also calling God his own Father. There's two issues here. One is what they thought about the Sabbath. But the other point that John is bringing up, he's saying, but he was also calling God his own Father, making himself equal to God. They want to kill him for the two reasons: for what they thought was breaking the Sabbath, and for him claiming to be God. They understood he was claiming to be God. When later in John 10:30, Jesus says, I and the Father are one. The Jews picked up stones again to stone him. Jesus answered them, many good works in the Father I've shown you. For which of these are you stoning me? The Jews answered, for good work we don't stone you, but for blasphemy, because you, being a man, make yourself out to be God. They understood he was claiming to be God. And the phrase calling God his own Father is part of that, making himself equal to God. They want to kill him for that. They were out to get him. So what I'll do sometimes with the cults is I'll say, let me get this straight. So you agree with the Pharisees that Jesus is not God? You agree with them that he is not the divine one? And that puts it on them. Well, the Pharisees killed him, and they denied he's God. You deny he's God. Did you agree with the Pharisees? So these three main verses, Philippians 2, 5 through 8, Galatians 4, 4, Hebrews 2, 9, they will enable you to answer by far the great majority of issues. So if someone were to say to you, well, in John 14:28, Jesus says the Father is greater than I. Now, if you know these verses, these three verses sets I gave you, then you'll be able to go, okay, he was made under the law, lower than the angels, and he emptied himself. Well, that's why the Father would be greater than he is. Not better, not different in nature, but greater in position, because he had to pray and do the will of the Father who sent him. People say, well, he has to be God. If he's God, then that wouldn't happen. Who says so? He's made under the law. And if he's going to be a man, then he's going to have to do the things of men. And think about this. They'll say, all authority has been given to me, right? Okay, good. Then go to him. If he has the authority, then go to the one who has the authority, right? Here's something else he says. Baptize him in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And in verse Matthew 28:20, teaching them to observe all that I commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. And I'll ask him, how is he able to be with them always, even to the end of the age? Can you explain that? How as a man can he actually judge all people? He'd have to know the intentions of their hearts. That's how you judge. Only God can do that. please, can you answer those questions? And you can see how these things are very powerful to work towards the truth of who Christ is. All right, we have 2 callers waiting. We'll be right back after these messages. 877-207-2276. We'll be right back.
We live in an on-demand world. Time, weather, meals, and content. That's why the Truth Network has the Truth Podcast Network. Some of your favorite Truth Network programs, plus some that are podcast only. Rich content that is rich in the Word.
The Masculine Journeys Joyride Podcast, authentic moments of truth and laughter with the guys of the masculine journey. You'll learn and laugh and even be touched. A greater understanding of Christ is only a joyride away. The Masculine Journey Joyride Podcast at truthnetwork.com.
Yeah, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that. Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
2 words that change everything, and 2 words that the Reformers and the Puritans said sum up the entire Christian life: grace and gratitude.
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, First Words of Jesus.
Take a moment this time of year and really every day of the year and think about these 2 words. First of all, what is grace? Grace is that gift of God that comes down upon unbelieving sinners like me and like you. It can't be earned. We're not entitled to it. We don't deserve it. It's the amazing gift of God that we see in Jesus Christ. Gratitude is that spirit, that attitude in those words that result from grace. Because of what God has done in us, gratitude flows out of us. Grace and gratitude. 2 words, the Puritans, they hung their hat on those words, and you and I should too. Every day of the year, especially for Thanksgiving.
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, First Words of Jesus. Available now in bookstores, or go online to firstwordsofjesus.com.
Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, that frog will boil. As a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans, it's a story that rings true. We learn to endure the heat in silence. We apply what we learn to life, the bills, the job, the family, things we're expected to handle with ease. When life heats up around us, we just try to stay afloat. We let the water boil. Reaching out isn't easy, but you've never been interested in easy. You join because you are not afraid of hard work. You are not a frog. If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait until the water boils. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. Last segment. So if you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276. Arturo from Utah, welcome. You're on the air.
Hey, how's it going, Matt?
It's going, man. It's going. What do you got?
So I had a question. I was wondering if you could reference me somewhere in the Bible that if there's somewhere that talks about Ice Age or dinosaurs.
Yeah, Job. Go to the book of Job and look at the last, I think it's 3 or 4 chapters. And you'll see where, let's see if I got it online on CARM. I do. I have it on CARM. Let's see. CARM and dinosaurs. Dinosaurs. Book of Job. So the book of Job, incidentally, is the oldest book in the Bible. What that means is it was the first one written in the writings. It was penned chronologically. It was in time-wise. It was penned before the work of Moses. So Job is earlier than the time of Moses, and it's an older kind of Hebrew also. At any rate, so it talks in there in Job 40, for example, verses 15 through 24, and it talks about, behold, Behemoth. He eats grass like an ox. Behold, now his strength is in his loins, and his power in the muscles of his belly. He bends his tail like a cedar. A cedar is a huge tree. The sinews of his thighs are knit together. His bones are tubes of bronze. His limbs are like bars of iron. He is the first of the ways of God. Let his maker bring near his sword. Surely the mountains bring him food, and all the beasts of the field play there. It says he rests in the reeds in the marsh, and the Jordan rushes to his mouth and doesn't faze him. Can anyone capture him when he's on watch with barbs? Can anyone pierce his nose? And so it's very interesting. What the heck is this thing? He's huge, and it doesn't fit for a hippopotamus or an elephant or a crocodile. These have all been proposed. Crocodiles don't eat grass, and elephants do, but it doesn't. The elephants aren't water dwellers. So some say it's a hippopotamus. Well, if it's a hippopotamus, then how does it move its tail like a cedar, which is huge? It just doesn't fit. And then there's another creature in Job 41. It says, or his mighty strength or his orderly frame, who can strip off his outer armor? Who can come within his double mail? M-A-I-L, if you know what that is, like chain mail, the Knights of the Templar, the Knights of the Round Table would use. Who can open up, not that he had that, it was physical, it just looked like it on the skin, like scales, okay? Who can open the doors of his face? Around his teeth there is terror. He sneezes fast, flash forth light. Out of his mouth go burning torches, sparks of fire leap forth. Out of his nostrils smoke goes forth, as from a boiling pot and burning rushes. His breath kindles coals, and a flame goes from his mouth. Now this is a creature that's being described. It sounds like a dragon. Now the Chinese have the ancient dragon myths. Well, it looks to here like there's a creature that was there. There's actually a beetle called the bombardier beetle that has two chemicals in its abdomen, and it puts them together and shoots them out, and it explodes in fire. So it goes up and it says, when he raises himself up, the mighty fear because of the crashing, they are bewildered. The sword that reaches him cannot avail, nor the spear, the dart, or the javelin. He regards iron as straw, bronze as rotten wood. The arrow cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned into stubble before him. Clubs are regarded as stubble. He laughs at the rattling of the javelin. He makes the depths boil like a pot. Behind him he makes a wake to shine. This sounds like a water-based dinosaur. Yeah?
Yeah.
So there you go. And I need to find the documentation, but I've read accounts of where there are cave drawings with dinosaurs there. And I remember reading an article where a team of researchers was, I think, in the Amazon or it was in the Congo. And they were showing a dinosaur book to some villagers, and they were fascinated by the different pictures until they got to one particular dinosaur, and they all stopped, and all of them pointed out into the jungle the same direction. Yeah. So who knows?
Wow.
And we know that Bigfoot work is still around. That's a fact. Because when you go to Washington, D.C., and you go into the Senate, you can see a lot of Bigfoot and Nephilim kind. They're like, you wonder if they're really truly people. That's it.
Okay.
It's a long joke.
So
Okay.
you do believe?
Do believe what?
So do you believe in dinosaurs?
Of course they were real. They lived. The question is, what were they? And they're dinosaurs. There's only like 40 species of dinosaurs. And a lot of people don't know that 98% of all species that ever lived are extinct. And they're finding DNA material in dinosaur bones that are supposed to be, hundreds of millions of years old, and yet the DNA is so it's still there. But there's problems. There's a lot of problems.
Well, I'm gonna actually look more into Job 40 and 41.
Okay.
And read it myself.
Please do. You don't want to trust a guy named
I
Slick on the
appreciate it.
radio. Good for you, man. All right. Read it. Check it out. All right.
I appreciate it, man.
Okay, buddy. God bless.
You have a good one.
You too. All right. 4 open lines, 877-207-2276. Let's get to Courtney from Ohio. Hey, Courtney, welcome. You're on the air.
Hey there.
Hey.
That was very interesting.
Well, good. I'm glad you thought it was interesting.
Yeah. So my question is about Matthew 24:33, where Jesus says, that this generation will by no means pass away. I heard somebody say that, people that have lived since Israel has become a nation again, that means those people will see, like the second coming of the Lord, and then also would it include the rapture?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's one of the possibilities. Now, Israel became a nation May 14th.
Really?
Yes. In May 14th, 1948, Israel became a nation. That's one of the logical possibilities. Here's a list of possible explanations for this. There's one of them, is that the people who were born at that time will then see the return of Christ. Now, 1948, you could live to be till 2048. And so technically, does it mean the whole people, the group of people, this generation will not? And if you only have one person alive by the year 2050 who was born in that time, it's kind of hard to justify that. So some people think, the basic group of people, because 1948, I was born in the 50s. I'm in my 60s. There's lots of people my age and lots of people older. So that would work just generically in that context. One of the other theories is that what it's talking about is back then, it's one possibility that it was referring to the work of Christ. Now, this is a bit of a stretch, and that was fulfilled in Matthew 17. They'll see the kingdom of God come up upon them. And Matthew 17 is, because, let me back up a little. Jesus says, there are many here this day who will not pass away till they've seen the kingdom of God come. And then Matthew 17, they see the glory of Christ and Moses and Elijah in the transfiguration. And some say, well, that seems to be the fulfillment of it. Now, when he talks in Matthew 24, he's talking about, in that context, he's talking about the parable of the fig tree. And the fig tree represents Israel. So it seems to be that the people of this generation, it could be that the people of the generation right then and there. And the reason that's another possibility is because of what's called partial preterism. Partial preterism is the view that the stuff of Matthew 24, Luke 17, Mark 13, these things were fulfilled mostly at the time of Christ, or the time after the time of Christ, within the first 10, 20, 30, 40 years kind of thing. And that they will also be typologically fulfilled again at the return of Christ. It's called partial preterism, where there's a blend of fulfillment of the first and second coming of Christ. And I hold to partial preterism in some respects. Full preterism says that everything was fulfilled by 70 AD, but that can't be. So anyway, that's another possibility. And so I lean towards the idea that it mainly is basically now that we're going to see this stuff. And the way things are going right now, the Great Reset.
What do you think the definition of a generation is?
That's another question. Because does the word generation mean Joseph, who was born on May 14th, 1948, or the day after Israel became a nation? Does that mean the generation from his time to till his death? Because it says the generation will not pass away till they see these things. Or does it mean the generation is considered around 40 years? Generally, it's also a generation. Or does it mean, like I'm in my 60s, so roughly every 20, 25 years, my kids could be born, and then 25 years have their kids, and then 25 years have their kids, etc. And I'm almost 66. I don't have any grandkids. Anyway, my 3 daughters, I'm like, come on, hurry up. We want children we want to spoil, And So one theory is that a generation is 40 years. Another one might be between children. So there's just a debate. I think generally what it means is when this happens, the people, this group, when it really is coming down, they won't pass away till all this is fulfilled. And that's what I think it is.
So you think it could be close? I mean,
Yes. I used to think I will see the Antichrist. Then I thought, no, I'm not going to see the Antichrist. Because of the events of the past year or two, now I'm beginning to wonder if we're going to see it again. Because our government, the people in our government basically are wicked. They're promoting ungodliness.
I understand.
They're moving towards the reset, the global reset, to bring everything under global economic control of a single group. This is the precursor to the rise of the Antichrist in the one world government system, where all the nations will be gathered against Israel, which means America is included. So there's going to be something that's going to happen in America, a fall of some sort. I can go on and list the stuff that's going on in America. It's bad news. It's happening across Europe too. And so it looks like the things. Oh, it's. Yeah, I don't want to talk about this too much over the radio because people get so depressed and not want to turn in anymore. Everybody else gives you, the blonde-haired, black Caucasian surfer Jesus pre-trib rapture stuff. And I say, nope. Jesus says, you watch out. When you see this, you run to the hills. That's what Jesus said. We're going to be here. And people need to wake up. We're going to be here. We're going to go through it. And people say, well, we'll just be delivered. Yeah, you might be delivered through being beheaded or jailed. Yeah. That's not what people want to hear. They want to go to my church because I teach depresscatology. Okay, anyway. Sorry about that. There's the music.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. Well, God bless. God bless.
That's okay.
Okay.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, get going on some stuff. Hope she calls back tomorrow. We can talk more. May the Lord bless you. I'll be teaching a Bible study in 2.5 hours online. You can check it out. God bless everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a great one. Okay. To me, that hour went by fast.
Yeah, it did.
Always does.
When you guys start saying, man, that dragged out, then I'll know it's probably time for me to get off the radio.
Hey, I got a question asked to me last night. Where are you doing Patreon now?
I'm doing Patreon on Patreon.
Yeah, but under what name?
Matt Slick.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and heck, I just did a Patreon video before I did the radio show. Oh, I didn't tell you, or did I? I forgot when it was. Either yesterday or day before. I can't remember. So Jake, the guy debated the Muslim. Did you hear what he did? Not a big deal. He went on the Clubhouse, and he comes on and he goes, "Man, I got a question for you." I go, "Hey, okay, sure." And he said, "I got transcript from the debate. I want to read this to you. I want your response." And he read to me some stuff about what I said. I'm thinking, what is this guy's problem? He won't let it go.
Yeah.
And I think he's doing damage control.
Oh, yeah.
And so I said that. He goes, "I am not doing damage control." I want to say, well, then grow up and leave it alone. It's past, I mean, if you want to leave passing it. And so he read me. He goes, "Now I want you to respond." And I tried to respond a little bit, but then I started dawning on me, this guy, he's not going to give up. Okay. So I said, okay, look, just email it to me. Email me the transcript, email me the stuff, and then I'll respond. And I'll turn it into an article. Okay. He said, okay. I said, "You can do that, right?" And he said he already wrote me, but I looked in the emails. I don't see the email. I looked. I did a search. You think Matt Slick got in his head? Maybe. And so I haven't seen his email. So I'm not saying he's lying or anything. I'm just saying I just don't see it. And but so then I just that, and then he started. I said, well, let me ask you a question. Is the statement God is a triune being, is it identity, predication, or is it both? And he wouldn't answer again. But then he said he could answer. I'm like, well, then answer. I forgot how the dialogue went. By then I'm getting bored. It's just, I don't even care anymore. And I said, just write me. I gotta go. I gotta go talk to my wife. It's whatever. I gotta go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, somebody needs to call the ambulance for him.
That's right.
Hey, I'm glad you touched on Mukele Mimbi, the search they did in the Congo for a dinosaur, and the indigenous people there that were very familiar with what he is and how he looks. When they were showing those guys pictures of the animals, they go, "Do you have any of these?" And they go, "Well, no." They showed them a lion. No, they live out on the savannah. What about this one? No, they live over here. What about this one? There's the dinosaur. They go, "Oh yeah, he lives in the swamps and the marshes over here. He's frightening and he's bad luck to tangle with. Our ancestors ate meat from him one time, and we had all kinds of bad luck. So they give him wide breath, Mukele Mimbi, very good. I posted a link to the search for the
Mukele Mimbi, isn't that a member of a new Muslim Congress member?
No, that's the name they know the animal by. Come on. No.
Hey, this was a good name. It's like
I know.
Chibarus.
It is good.
Yeah, it's a spice that Chewbacca uses. I think that's what it really comes down
Yeah.
to. Okay, but anyway.
Yeah. Also, I posted a link to another article that has excellent pictures of cave paintings where so-called cavemen drew art of dinosaurs and stuff. And yeah, they lived with them because they drew them anatomically correct, moving and being hunted. So they didn't just find bones of them. No, they lived with them. And both those, by the way, both those ministries, creation.com and Answers in Genesis, and also the ICR, when I've dived deep into their recommended links, CARM is there.
Good.
So they recognize the value of apologetics as well as their creation presentations. So in fact, they work it into a lot of their creation materials to know that you need to be biblically based in your worldview. And there you go. Apologetics is the place to be. So, and I was just glad to see them linked to CARM.
Good.
So I don't mind putting up their articles if you don't have one that's exactly to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. The giraffe makes no sound that a human can hear. I didn't know that. My daughter, Hannah, could probably hear it. My wife and I were upstairs, all the doors closed. There was fighter jets putting on their afterburners outside over the house. There were 2 lions fighting in the backyard, and there was elephants trying to communicate across the states. And my wife and I were in a room with several closed doors, and we whispered, and my daughter goes, "That's not true." That's how Hannah's hearing is. Seriously, she has freaky hearing. I whispered once to Neek, and she was upstairs. She goes, "That's not true." And both Neek and I were like staring, like.
My mom and dad named me Radar because they would do the same thing to me. They could be clear across the house whispering, and I could tell them what they said. And they were like, "Nah." Then they'd go and hide and do it again.
And you got it right.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the case that women have better hearing than men, but I don't know if that is the case. Men have better vision. I know that they're more acute. They have twice the visual area processing. But I think women's hearing is better. I remember hearing something like that.
Well, probably because we're used to listening for the children and for the husbands whining, all that.
The husband's whining and the baby's whining and the husband's whining. So you're all sensed into it. Good. That works. See, we have selective hearing because we want to be out in the jungle hunting the prey. We don't need to be hearing all the other stuff. Get rid of that. So it's a good thing. Selective hearing around a woman is a good thing.
Oh, Carrie had to jump in them ears because I was blessed with big ears too. So
you were okay.
When I used to ride on my motorcycle, he said my ears would flap like Dumbo.
That's nice.
In a loving way. So
yeah, I'm sure it was. My ears are growing, and they used to be super small. And my mom even said, she goes, "Man, you're small. You got a small ears." What? Yeah, I think it is. Women can hear higher pitches. I think that's the case. Now I'm curious. Let's see. I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask. I'm going to go and look. Okay, let's see.
I think Carrie had me do a test, and it tests for pitches, and then mine ended up being pretty high.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. The female gender has proven to have greater hearing sensitivity and are more sensitive to noise exposure at higher frequencies. They also have shorter latency in their auditory brainstem. That's obvious. Responses and more spontaneous, oh boy, autoacoustic emissions than do men. Hey, look at this. Let's see. Do men and women hear sounds differently? Oh, did you see the video where a wife she gets man glasses? They cause you to see what men see. It was pretty funny. And so she puts these glasses on, and she doesn't know anything different. It's the same. And so she walks and she trips over something. She looks down the ground. There's nothing there. She trips and she looks down. There's nothing there. She picks up glasses like this. There's a pile of clothes on the floor, and she puts a man glasses on. There's nothing there. And it was just a bunch of stuff like that. And I got a kick out of it. And she goes, "Hey, wait a minute, what's this?" And she looked around the room. Everything's nice and tidy. She takes the glasses off. There's messes everywhere. What? And she goes to the garbage, right? And looks at the garbage. It's empty. And she takes them off. It's full, overflowing. It was good. She's going, "What is this?" It was great.
That sounds like it's true. I need a pair of those so I can understand men.
Whoa, that's a wide open door. Well, then you need a higher IQ. Oh, boy, that'd be something. Actually, but yeah, a doctor told me once, we got talking about something. I was getting a X-ray or something done, and he said that's where I learned that the connective tissue between the left and right brain hemispheres is twice that of a man.
Right,
and
the
so,
corpus callosum, yeah.
Corpus callosum, and so they can multitask better. It's not better or worse. It's there you are. And he said men have twice their visual processing area in the brain is twice the size of a woman's, and for acute. And I'm like, well, okay. And my wife and I now I have to wear glasses. What it is. I'm in my 60s, and so we're driving down the freeway, and for real, she'd say, "Well, where's the exit?" And I'd read the sign, up there, and I go, "Well, it's right up there." She goes, "What sign?" That one right up there. Look at the green. She goes, "I see the green." And I said, "Tell me when you can read it." And we're driving along, and half the distance is when she could start reading it. I'm not saying it's all women are like that, but
no,
I also
it's opposite. I'm the one who has to read the signs for my husband.
In fact, this is trivia. An eye doctor told me once that the most acute vision ever of a human was a woman. She could recognize faces at something like a mile away, and it was phenomenal. And he said the theory was she was small in stature, and that her eyes were small, smaller because she's small, she's smaller frame and woman, and she wasn't very tall. And they think that because of it, the same number of rods and cones were compressed into a finer area, and so she had a better vision ability because of it. I thought, oh, that's interesting.
Sounds plausible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's almost been proven as a fact that when God used a rib from Adam to make woman, he used our rib that can read minds, the
Yes,
genetics
that's
in it,
gone.
because we can't do it the way they can. So it must have been something in that one rib.
That's right.
That he.
How about this? My wife. Actually, I told Anik about Debbie. Charlie told about Debbie. Just basic, blah blah blah. Debbie. And you can tell them if whatever. I want to spread your stuff around, but so Anik's asking me all these questions. Well, was she diagnosed? Did she see a specialist? I'm like, I just told you what I know. Or once, like this happened yesterday, I got a text from somebody. So basically, I quoted the text. Well, did they say blah 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 blah? I go, no, there was a text. That's all I got, the text. I don't know anything else. Sometimes now, I think I told you before, what I'll do is I'll say, so and so said something, but I don't know the time. I don't know anything about it. In fact, yesterday I said to my wife, I go, so and so said that blah blah blah. I said, I did not ask about the curtains. I didn't ask about the car. I didn't ask about doctor's appointments. I didn't ask about what state they moved here from. I didn't. She goes, see, guys, we just go, Charlie's coming over at 6. That's it. Well, what car is he driving? I don't know. Is he going to be hungry? I don't know. Well, why don't you ask him this stuff? Don't need to. He's coming over at 6. Did you ask about his wife? No, I didn't ask about his wife. He's just coming over at 6. That's how it works.
Oh yeah, guys can communicate very quickly and efficiently with just grunts and gestures and
and crotch scratching and doing like this and yeah, no problem.
Must be evolution.
De-evolution.
Devolution. There you go.
That's right. De-evolution. That's right. And in fact, you know how I say I don't have to get cleaned up. I don't impress anybody. I'm married. Let's just say that today, my poor wife, I want to take a picture of her because it would be the typical housewife, grungy looking, bandage on the head, hair like this, sloppy this, where, and I thought it was attractive, the whole combo. And I gotta take a picture of it. He's go, don't you dare. But it's just what it is. Anyway, I forget what brought that up.
Oh, are you doing Bible study?
I guess.
Okay.
Yep. I got it. It's all set. All I have to do is print up the lesson. I already put the stuff up on the web. It's there. So
are you going to be there? Are you going to be there for it, Laura?
I should be. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless somebody stops over.
All right. If something comes up, let me know, and I'll do the necessary job.
Okay.
With our friend.
Yeah.
I like those backdrops you've got, Matt. Nobody else can see them in here, but I can.
Yeah.
And,
well, he had them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? I love the ocean. In fact, I wanted to be a marine biologist. That was my intention. And so I met Jacques Cousteau. I used to go to the ocean all the time. I love water. And my dream is to just have a place on the beach. Or I just need for me, it's incredibly calming. That's my idea of relaxation, which is why I want to do a cruise, because it's water everywhere. And it just makes me relaxed.
I'm using the backdrop of leftover from Expo 74 here in Spokane. And smallest city to ever have a World's Fair. I wasn't here for it, but there's a link if you want to learn anything about it.
Okay.
I think they give an old shot in there. Yeah, an old shot of the clock tower's there in '74. So, and the pavilion looks like an umbrella. That's still there. A lot of stuff's still there. It's fun to go downtown and see the remnants of that down at Riverside Park, they call it.
I like this better. Beach.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, down by the park, there's wonderful waterfalls. I mean, the ionizing of the air or whatever it is, the ions change in a spray. I mean, it's so refreshing to stand there and just experience that little bit of mist. It recharges your battery sometime, and to listen to that roar that the falls make. I used to like that when I was in Huntington Beach. I'd go to sleep on the sand listening to the waves crash.
Oh yeah, it's nice.
The real thing is much better than those recorded ones.
Yeah. So I have 4 monitors, so I have to do this 4 times to get the background to change, because it changes for each monitor one at a time before I get to this one. You guys can see.
Oh.
So it should change on this one. See, aren't those nice? Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's nice right there.
Yeah. I just need the sound of waves crashing. Yeah.
It's very
That's
peaceful.
right. Yeah, it is, and I just love it. It really, I just have this dream of being able to have a place where I can just overlook the ocean. If I could ever retire or overlook some water, I just love it. Oh man. Anyway, that's what it is. Be a nice place to visit. You wouldn't want to live there? I would. Oh, I would. Actually, I would even move to Florida. I don't care about the hurricanes. Just get my house prepped during the year and have it on stilts, because I know that houses survive it, and just deal with it. But the rest of the time, you got ocean all around you. You got storms that come in. Oh,
Hey, you got DeSantis too.
got what?
DeSantis.
Yeah, and DeSantis.
Yeah. They just won't insure you against sinkholes down there because they develop unexpectedly.
Okay.
California, you need earthquake insurance. Down there, you try to get sinkhole insurance and they'll laugh at you.
Yeah. Yeah, we experienced plenty of earthquakes down in SoCal when we were there.
I never seemed to mind them. Yeah.
No, I didn't mind them. Once Anik and I are in bed, we're asleep, and an earthquake happens, and literally, she wakes up in a panic, that shaking, and she wakes me up, and I still remember this. She goes, "There's earthquake, earthquake," and I said, "Yeah, I know," and I just go to sleep, and I just turned over, and the earthquake is still going, and she got mad at me. Because I didn't like, I'll hold you. You feel better? I'll protect you from the earthquake. Well, just go to sleep, So
yeah,
we were living at my mom and dad's at the time. We just got married, and so before we moved on campus and stuff. So my mom had to hold her. My wife got mad at me. You didn't hold me. Sorry. It's an earthquake. Go to sleep.
I only had one that frightened me, and I was exploring a gold deposit in a makeshift mine that someone had made
that
and abandoned, and I felt a little bit of a rumbler. It was more of a rumbler than a shaker, and that was as I was entering the thing, and I thought, you know what, I don't want to go in there right now. So,
Were you remember the '71 earthquake?
Oh yeah.
That was
many of the bridges that fell down were built by a construction company I later worked for, Tucker and Clough. Apparently, they had cheated on the concrete and
really
as different under a different name after that happened. And the guys, Bob Tucker and Bill Clough, they put the names of their wives in charge of the businesses after that to escape responsibility. So, but they paid me good, and their checks never bounced. So I found this all out later when it all came crashing down.
Yeah, I used to work at Kimberly-Clark, in
I remember that.
Fullerton, and there was a guy there. I think it was there, and he told me that he was on one of the overpasses that they were building when the earthquake hit, and it collapsed, and he was on it, and he collapsed, fell down with it, and his buddy 15 feet away was crushed to death.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that was a bad earthquake. That was a bad earthquake, and there was
Yeah.
destruction everywhere in Southern California. That was a big one.
Yeah.
That one scared me. I'll admit that one. Woke up and my bed literally is bouncing around the room, hitting the walls, and just moving, sliding. It was large. Well, anyway, that's that.
Yep. Oh boy.
So Mel had an earthquake. Where are you? And we had one earthquake here in Idaho once, barely detectable. And we had one tornado once, and it was in Boise. It made the news. It lasted for like 5 minutes. Went over a house and knocked a tree down.
The guy that lives across the street from me was here, living where he's living now, across the street from me when Mount St. Helens went up, and that is miles and miles and miles from us. But he said it buried everybody in the ash and stuff over here. He said it was miserable. He says it was feet deep.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. He said everything was stopped.
Neek was in the air either during that. She was flying, and she saw it from the out the window. She happened to be flying someplace, and so she got the bird's eye view of the eruption. Yeah.
Yeah. Quite a blast.
The only soot that I've experienced is. What's that?
Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm surprised that in Utah we've had a few good tornadoes. Being around all these mountains. What one took down? Yeah, we had one that took down like the Mormon Visitor Center, and actually before I was born, one came and flipped over because I grew up on a mink ranch. Flipped over the mink sheds, ripped the tile up in the house that my dad was living in, and yeah, we've had a few good ones in Utah.
See, I associate them more with the Plains states.
Yeah.
Well, it had to come down and take out the Mormon stuff.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing one of the worst tornadoes that they had in the Midwest in like 50 or 100 years out at my bedroom window when we were in Wichita Falls, Texas. Yeah.
When I was 14 years old, I went back to New York on a plane to drive my mother home to Southern California. And I had a learner's permit, and so I could drive with her in the car with me. But I'd never driven, so she had a freeway flyer, so I started driving her home. We came through Arizona, New Mexico, and stuff like that. But in Oklahoma, I came through this area where these clouds were with these like fingers hanging down. I go, oh, look at the streams of rain coming down. And we looked at it, and then a bolt of lightning hit a wood pile right next to the freeway, just kind of shattered it into toothpicks. I'm thinking, wow, that's cool. And then as I drive a little further, I look in my rear view mirror and I can't see anything. I thought the mirror got adjusted to point at the roof or something. I reach up there and wiggle it around. It was jet black behind me. I had just come through. Yeah, I had just come through, and the radio started talking about tornado warnings and tornadoes hitting here and there. I go, wait a minute, that's where I am.
Whoa.
Clinton, Oklahoma. I just went past the off ramp for Clinton. Well, yeah. So I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I drove right through one that was just beginning, and I just hit the gas and kept going faster.
Sheesh.
Yeah, old Fairlane 500.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. So, but I learned from then on to be careful around all those dark rain clouds that look like they got little fingers hanging down.
Yeah.
It's not entertaining anymore.
No. Yeah. That's right. Well, my mom let me drive, and I did long trips at 16. It was no
Yeah.
big deal. Driving's not hard. So, whoops.
Yeah.
I gotta
I
get
learned
right.
on a motorcycle.
Wow.
So I learned how to be defensive. It was like everybody's out to get you and they can't see you because you're invisible to them.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that made me a
It's a-
safe driver the rest of my life. I was a safe driver.
Absolutely, it does. It makes you. It really does. You're driving more offensively.
Yeah. My brother once said, cause me to remember this, he said that he was sitting at an off ramp to a freeway. Oh, two stories are really good. And a Volkswagen was in front of him, and the Volkswagen pulled out, and a motorcycle hit the Volkswagen, and I guess the guy was killed. And the driver of the Bug, an old Volkswagen, was thrust out the other side and skidded on the pavement.
Wow.
Yeah. And then one of Nick's brothers told me the story of his girlfriend, and she was a gorgeous blonde. She could have been in a magazine kind of gorgeous blonde. I remember seeing her going, wow, she's just one of those. And she liked to drive a motorcycle. And the story was that she was driving off an off ramp, and there was a highway patrolman at the stoplight at the base of the off ramp and saw the whole thing and wrote a report. And what happened was she was just cruising. She's in a helmet and not leathers, tight leathers like a movie thing, but leathered up. And she's going on the bank and hit gravel, and the bike wobbled, went out from underneath her, and she climbed up on top of the bike and surfed it. On the off ramp, surfed and stood on top of it, kept her balance. The guy wrote the report and everything. He said he saw it. And she comes sliding down until the bike just comes to a stop, and she just stepped off. He couldn't believe what he saw. He runs up and says, "Are you okay?" And then the helmet comes off, and this gorgeous blonde shakes her head, and his hair goes flying. I could just see the whole thing. The guy looking, and so I got a kick out of that. But yeah, you just never know.
Wow.
Yeah, wow is right.
Yeah. So when you get hit, that's the last thing you think of.
Yeah, there was when I worked at Ryder Truck Rental in Santa Fe Springs, California, next to the 5 freeway. We heard all this commotion, and so we ended up going outside, and the freeway was you could literally take a tennis ball and throw it from a parking lot onto the freeway, because there was a little side street right between us. And this guy in a motorcycle was going down the road, and one of the Ryder trucks pulled out in front of him, and he tried to miss the vehicle, clipped the front, and then was thrown into the guardrails. But the guardrails were just those weird looking poles of metal that are shaped cross section, just shaped like a C kind of a thing, and they were vertical with metal that linked them all together. It was a really low level guardrail, and his body hit and knocked down 3 of them.
Wow.
And then the paramedics came. The guy lived, and he was in the hospital for 6 months. And it took 20 minutes for the paramedics to straighten him out enough to move him onto a stretcher.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. And I remember I was working in an emergency registering patients in ER in San Diego at Palomar Hospital. And I would go back into the ER room with the doctors and the nurses, and I'd glance through the curtains and see stuff. They let me do that, not a problem. And this one time, a lot of actions going on, and doctors are moving very quickly. You get used to the feel, and all of a sudden, it's busy. Something's coming in, and they're talking short sentences, getting ready for this. You get that like that. Okay, so something's happened. And so within 5 minutes, the ambulance comes up, and they bring this guy in. I didn't see him. They bring this guy in who was in a motorcycle accident, and they were working on him to save his life, doing all the stuff that you do in an ER, like in the movies. And this nurse was there, and you always had to get permission to go back and see stuff like that. And I said, "Can I go take a look?" And she stopped everything, and she turned to me, and with a stern, angry voice, she said, "I will not let you see what he looks like, and don't you ever get a motorcycle." And I never forgot that. Then she went about doing her business. I never forgot that. Never will. It was so stunning to me. I go, you know what? I'm not going to ever get a motorcycle. So that's just me. But that's a downer.
Yeah, it's hard when you see that stuff. You can never forget it.
Yeah, I never forgot what she said. It really stuck with me. And over the years, I've actually thought about that. I thought, it'd be cool to have a motorcycle. And I could just see her face staring at me, saying, "Don't ever get one." And because of what this guy was going through, I don't even know if he lived. And I thought, I got a family. I got a wife to take care of. It's bad enough if you're driving in a car, things can happen. But a motorcycle just, quadruples the chances. And so for me, just me, I say I don't have the right to do that and risk myself when my wife needs me. So, that kind of stuff.
I watched a kid get hit on a motorcycle, and he went down, and he was just gurgling. He didn't have a helmet on. He died before the paramedics got there, and so I never wore a helmet. And I thought, I better get a helmet. And I put the helmet on, and I couldn't hear as well, and I just felt like my peripheral vision was off, and I was like, I can't do it. It's actually less safe for me to have the helmet on as far as my vision and hearing. So thankfully, I never got hit. I had to smack a truck that come up the side of me. Dang near took me out. I actually hit the truck with my hand, going, "Hey, I'm right here." They just don't see or don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend who I've known him since I was 12, and he said he was coming on the on-ramp. And the way traffic works, sometimes you can get locked in pretty quickly if you're on a motorcycle between vehicles. And that's what happened. And he literally had a foot on each door of two cars while he's on his motorcycle and banging.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when he said, and he didn't understand how it happened, but he said that his bike wasn't working right, and he came off, and after that it wouldn't go above like 25 miles an hour, and he couldn't figure out what happened. And he still didn't know. Weird.
Well, I left California in 2009, and back then it was still legal to shoot the lanes. The freeway would clog up, and I'd just go right between the lanes. Every once in a while, there was a smart aleck that would squeeze over and see me coming in the rearview mirror and try to act silly, and cut me off that way. But normally, I got through pretty quickly with my foot up and kicked the mirror off. But that's when I was very mean, and not so regenerate as I am now.
Right. Did you ever pack around nuts and bolts in your pocket?
Oh no. I would scare them with my loud pipes. I just pull in my clutch as I'm rolling up to them, and then pop it when I hit the next to their window and watch them jump for. It was fun to do that. Just scare the life out of them. It sounded like an explosion.
Well, and that's one thing that's nice is to have loud pipes, because it does save lives. Because people will hear you and go, "What?" and take notice.
Yep.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I had a friend who always rode Harleys, never been in a bike accident, never dropped anything. He's always extremely cautious. He was telling me some of the things he would do, and he was extremely wary, and he hadn't been in any accident. And he was just driving down the road like 4 years ago here in Idaho, just driving his Harley, and his front bearing and his wheel froze. Just walked,
That's the
boom,
worst.
right over the
Yep.
head. Yep. Was in the hospital for a week or two, and took 2 or 3 months to heal. And he says, "That's it. I'm done with bikes."
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, I never went down, but I sold my bike just right before I had MS, and so because that would have been scary, not being able to feel or put my feet down and stuff. So all worked out great.
Yeah, well, I still got my baloney cut exhaust on the Harley there, and take the baffles out if I want to really hear it. And
Hopefully
everybody,
you can.
nobody in the neighborhood likes it if I can gun it.
Yeah, it's disturbing. Yeah, it is.
Not
Oh
to
well.
me. If it doesn't rattle the fillings loose in the last couple of teeth I have, it isn't worth riding.
Carrie tried taking his baffles out because my bike was louder, and he couldn't get them out. It really ticked him off.
Yeah, it'd be fun, but I like being able, at my age, be able to be agile. I'm going to stay that way.
Yes. Well, they say most people, if you haven't gone down yet, you will. So
yeah,
on the bike.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, the climate here in FEMA Region 10 is making me want to sell it.
Yeah.
Just not enough good riding days.
Yeah. All right, guys. I need to go check on Neek and feed the cats. Get stuff ready.
My old
for the study.
profile. No, I never had a Triumph that I took a picture on. So, nope. I had a BSA for a while and a Jawa.
You guys, I'm out here. You guys close it, okay?
Okay, and a
All right.
matchless from Spain.
Yeah,
That was.
I got a cooked dinner. And
Yep.
so now I can see the picture behind you. Hey, what's up with Deb? Is she okay?
Oh yeah, yeah. She's just kind of. She wanted to make the bed and string lights on a little tree she's got, and she goes, "My back's hurting." I said, "Well, go to bed." You know. Don't
Okay.
complain.
Matt
Just
had
go to
just
bed
said
and
to
rest.
pray. Matt just said to pray for her. Matt had texted to pray for her, and so I just wanted to
Yeah,
know.
she's got other developing things that are going to run their course eventually. So, hey, it sucks getting old. That's all.
Hey, amen. It's sure not for wimps, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll try to join you guys on the Bible study tonight. I probably won't be there, but if you can't be there, like I said, give me a buzz and I'll go do what needs to be done.
I will do, brother.
All
Go
right.
get you some food.
All right. I'm gonna end the broadcast. So
Okay.
see you later, everybody.
See ya.
And yep, talk to you later.